congratulations, you've done a great job, great presentation, appreciate it. You went through the cost of the revenue model of the truck itself. Did you include the cost of the trailer and the employees and those?
Everything.
Everything's in there?
So with the profit, yes. So that's after we've taken it down to paying myself, paying an employee, actually my partner. So all of that, food costs, because we have to pay. So most events are on the lower end $400. Some go up to like $800. So basically, after all of our expenses, is where we figured out the revenue.
Can you share a little bit about the revenue model with the package model?
Sure. So we are the suggested retail price for something like this for our product is $299. Basically, we've structured that where we've included a markup of around 20 to 30% for us. But the thing is, because of the way the chain works, is everybody in the chain has to have, add their markup. So when we get our product in and we deliver it to our distributor adds 8%, and then that ultimately goes to the supermarket, and the supermarket adds another 50% markup. So we figured this is what I think is acceptable. I think people on average can afford around $299, let's say, or really on the more upscale markets like a Whole Foods, $325. So we started there, and then we said, what do we have to make to afford marketing support, to afford travel expenses, to afford making these bags? So we cost structured all of that, and we worked with a distributor, which was a nice thing, who's had a lot of experience with pricing, and they told us this is where we want to be, and we knew where we needed to be, and that's how we basically came up with that number.
Have you been successful getting into stores?
We actually, our first production run is finalizing this month, so we're going to get our product actually to our distributor. We did a demo for ShopRite. They really loved it, so we're doing, we have another meeting with them, and we're filling out a deck now for Whole Foods, which we actually, so I live in Brantford, there's a local store in Milford, Connecticut, and we went in and we talked to someone that gave us some buyer information. They also really liked the product, and the way the supermarkets work is that they have like a review schedule, so frozen is on a certain date, and beverages are another date, so you fill out this deck, you submit it, and then they would let you know. But the nice thing with ShopRite is that since they're family owned, it's like a franchise, we talked to the actual family who has 9 stores. So that's where we have our fingers crossed to get into there. And then some more smaller local markets that once we have the product, we can actually start distributing. The way it works usually is typically you would ship to a distributor, and then they would say, we have the stores, that's it. But they have their clientele, they have the people that they already want to sell to, but they're also giving us the ability to find stores ourselves, because they're smaller, which I consider pretty big. They're Connecticut, New York, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania that they would distribute to, but they're not a national distributor. So it's nice in the beginning for us to work with someone like that. You're welcome. Sure.
So how did you come up with your name?
That's a great question. So we traditionally, in the beginning, we had a name for our food truck. It was Ambrosia Smoothies, and Ambrosia was the nectar, from immortality for the Greek gods, and that ended up being a trademark problem. So we had to start over again, and I was like, let's do something conventional, something that everyone will understand. And then, it was like just typical names that you would think would associate with smoothies. And I said, you know what? Look at companies like Google, or look at companies like Kabosh, I don't know how to pronounce it, but where they're so different that it makes you think twice, what does this even mean? Or then we realized we're a fun company. We're not, a financial services company. We're not somewhere where we have to be more structured like that. We can be more out there and fun, and that's where we were just writing names down, and this came out, and I said Yimello, and I circled it, and I kept going through names, and we had like 10 names left and 5 names left, and I was like, this name is so odd and different. I was like, I actually really like it. So I had someone do a little rendering of our logo. I said, you know what, I love it, I want to go with that, and I stuck with the name like that, so, yeah.
So where did you get your entrepreneurial spirit? Is there somebody in life that you look up to?
My father. So, when I was young, my father had one diner. We're Greek, so it's typical like diner business. And I would put an apron on, and I would go in the back, and I would just watch my dad, the way he talked to people, and I always admired that. And I'm like, I said to myself, I want to be like that. He talks to people so easily. I don't want to just be forgotten about. I really want to be able to impact people. I want to be able to meet people. And so I really just said, you know what? Like I said in high school, I just let me just try it, let me start my business. I'd saved up money since I was really a little kid, Christmas money, birthday money, my bank account, didn't spend it, and I put all of that to allow me to afford my first food truck, so.
So what's your major in how?
Entrepreneurship. Yeah. So I chose Quinnipiac because of that program. I really, to be honest, I was thinking to myself, I can't go to school because I don't know what I'm going to study. I'm not going to study finance. I'm not going to study accounting. I'm not going to study communication. So, I felt kind of stuck. But Quinnipiac offered entrepreneurship, and that's why I decided to go through that, which has been great so far. I'm a sophomore, so I've really now starting to get into those classes. Been having to get bogged down on some of the accounting, those type of classes, but they're still really helpful for me. So, sure.
Great presentation.
Thank you.
Enjoyed it. As entrepreneurs, we're all very busy, and I'm just wondering if you could have an extra hour in your day, how would you spend it?
I would say if I had an extra hour in my day, it would be going through emails, because I feel like a lot of times I get stuck because of school, so I'll go to class, I'm either emailing in between classes, or I'll go out to take a phone call. So I'm like, if I could have 1 hour where I told everyone, hey, you can only reach me from 9 to 10. This is the only time you can call me, the only time you can email me. I want to get through everything now because, I also go to school full time. So I would say that would be probably the one way I would allocate that 1 hour, just to streamline things, make them more convenient, not spread them out throughout the whole day.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes.
Question. Would you say that you've spent more money than the profits in the 2 years of the food truck in coming up with this?
I would say so, yeah. Actually, the most expensive part for us are print plates. They're what actually allow the printing machine to actually print the bags. We didn't realize that it would be that much money. The designer's expensive as well, but I would say most of it actually went to just getting print plates. And then, making sure we had enough money to support a distributor to put in our first order, which thank God we have had. But, making sure we're, thinking about the future with money is hard because we put all of our energy into one thing, and then it gets to the point where, oh wait, what about marketing we forgot about? So that's something I've been learning now through some mistakes that I've made, how to really allocate my money the right way and not spend it on things that, this is something we have to spend it on, so.
So if you had one do-over on learning from your mistakes, what would it be?
I would not pay this marketing company that I paid $4,000 to make me these little flyers that I could have made on probably easily myself. And when they gave us a bill for $4,000, I was like, okay, well I have to pay it because I can't just tell them no. So paid it, and I said never again. It's the last time I'll ever do that. And so now we've been doing. I wish I could even put up my website, design that entire thing myself. I refuse to pay someone $6,000 to $8,000 to build me a website when I could. I learned how to do it myself. It looks beautiful. If I have time, I can pull it up and show you. But those sorts of things. Now figuring out how to avoid those mistakes again.
So welcome to the business world. We all struggle with those type of issues. What type of entity are you? Have you created an entity or something? You still just basically filing as a sole proprietor?
No, we are an LLC. An LLC. So for now, I think that was the best cost-effective way for us. I know for tax purposes it might not be the best, but just starting off, it was the cheapest for us to start with. I know there's we've looked into S Corp, C Corp, but the accountant I've been working with advised us to basically start with a smaller LLC, and then based on how we grow, we can move into something different. That fits it better.
What do you think your sales projection is for this over the next, say, 2017?
It's a great question. So with all of our models, if we target the stores, the ShopRite has 280 stores. So let's say we don't even get into Whole Foods, but we got into ShopRite, and then another 20 local stores, so 300 stores. With those 300 stores, we'd like to do in sales probably around $600,000 to $800,000. That's because stores typically like that would buy. They don't buy by the caseload; they would buy by pallet size, which is 135 cases. I know from speaking to other people in actually the frozen food business, those stores like that will buy. They're starting with 20,000 cases, which is a really good amount of money. If we're selling it to them for, let's say, $20 a case, that's $400,000 there. So it's really, I think you can reach those numbers in the food industry. Restaurants are a lot harder, but I think with a product like this, reach those numbers in a shorter time span if you reach the buyers correctly, which is always the hard part, because people are busy and you just have to keep getting, hey, did you forget about me? Did you read my email? So I think if we can do that in the next few years or so, next year or so, that's really what we're striving towards.
Judges, we have 2 more minutes on the questions.
Is there any food and drug
FDA?
issue with this?
No,
It
because
seems like it's all just regular.
yeah, just since
natural products.
yeah, if it was I know with meat and cheese and dairy, there's FDA. For this, it's not. 'Cause it's fruit, which we were really lucky about. There were a ton of labeling things we had to have. Like there's a certain font for the nutrition facts. There's UPC codes, like the labels there. We had to have the net weight, keep frozen. So thank God because we didn't go. It's not a meat product or something. We got lucky, but there are still things we have to go through. But it definitely wasn't as difficult as if it would be like a meat product, which is nice. So
Do you actually source the fruit yourself, or?
we use a co-packer.
Okay.
So basically, the company that co-packs for us grows the blueberries and the strawberries in Woodland, Washington. I wish we could have brought frozen fruit so you can see, but the beautiful, like, big, really, really nice fruit. And then the other fruit comes from Mexico, comes from Puerto Rico, where mangoes and pineapples don't really grow well here, where we have to source fruit from. And they take care of all of the cutting and the flash freezing for us, so we can really focus on talking, getting to the customers and getting to the supermarkets. And now, since we have a distributor, which was probably our biggest hurdle, we can now, because if I go to a store and they love the product, logistically, how do I get it there? Well, now we have a distributor, so it's really us just going there, doing our presentation. If they like it, there's support that we can really get the product there. So.
And just on that question, so is there pretty good consistency of the product then throughout?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they are HAACP certified, which is like the highest standard in food safety. They go before fruit is even packed. They spend a week just on our product testing to make sure there's no bacteria, there's nothing that shouldn't be in there. So the quality standards are so high. That's why it took us a while to find a co-packer who had those sort of quality standards in place, because that was really important to us as well. Obviously. So.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
That's time on
Thank you
the
so much.
agenda.
Great job.